Sziasztok, kellemes péntek estét mindenkinek! Elérkezett a június hivatalos stream ideje, ami a freeholdokról fog szólni az előzetes infók alapján. Most ez azért érdekes egyrészt, mert ugye már régóta kérdezgetik sokan, hogy a megvásárolható skinek közül a freeholdos skinek hogyan működnek pontosan, milyen épületre lehet ráhúzni, hogyan működik, mi a feltétele, meg egyáltalán. Illetve, hogy csak egyre lehet húzni, vagy többre is, csak főépületre, vagy másra is. Meg esetleg az, hogyha erről tudunk valamit, akkor az betekintést ad majd az egyéb skinek működésébe is talán. Másrészt meg ugye hát arról volt szó korábban, hogy a freeholdodon majd csinálhatsz magadnak mindenféle craft helyeket, meg nevelhetsz növényeket, meg állatokat, stb. Nem tudom, hogy erről fognak-e mutatni valamit, vagy pontosan mi lesz, de majd meglátjuk nem sokára. Illetve ugye nem nagyon-nagyon régen volt egy freeholdos videó. Hát az még gyakorlatilag még a fejlesztés elején volt, amikor az a bizonyos emberke ott mászkált, és egy-két ilyen freeholdot így körbenézett. Igazából nem volt semmi extra, csak ilyen látvány videó. Azt is meglátjuk, hogy ahhoz képest miben más. Illetve nem tegnap közé tettek egy videót, egy képet egy fafeldolgozó épületről. Ami elég jól néz ki, hasonlít ahhoz, amit az Alfegyben láttunk. Hogyha esetleg voltak az Alfegyben és felhúztatok a városban, vagy valamelyik városban ilyen fafeldolgozót, akkor ahhoz hasonlított. Úgy hasonlít. Úgyhogy nem tudom, hogy mit fognak mutogatni most, vagy csak épületeket, vagy a skinekről is beszélnek, meg egyáltalán a működéséről az egész freeholdnak. Vagy változott-e valami a korábbiakhoz képest, de hát nem sokára kiderül. Mindenképpen érdekes lesz szerintem. Azt is meglátjuk, hogy pontosan kezdenek-e. Vagy nem. Bár most nem hogy pontosan kezdenek. Igen, kiderül, hogy most is pontosan kezdenek. Aztán majd belőjük a hangot. Hogyha elindultunk. Mi szóló? Ó, hát az... nem tudom, hogy az lesz. Főleg most, hogy azt mondták, hogy a múltkor, hogy tovább növelik a területet szerint. Hát, hogy meglátjuk. Szokásos Steven az irodából, meg a túl fényezett Margaret otthonról. Tudom, szemből sütnek ki annak, hogy hátulra. Azt mondja, emlékeztetők, freehold update, art update, studio update kérdések. Jó.
It is going to be a long one. I mean, what are we thinking here? Probably at least an hour and a half, if not maybe two. Oh my god.
Lehet, hogy minimum másfél órás, hanem 2 órás stream lesz. Na hát kíváncsi leszek.
Keep that in mind as we're moving forward today. But to cover what we're going to be covering, we're going to go quick reminders. I'm going to try to be really quick about
Hát igen, a freeholdokról mondjuk elég sokat lehet beszélni, szóval.
Some art updates, which include some new Nikuin awesomeness. I know folks have been asking about more dwarf stuff. And a studio update.
Oh, Nikua. Ez egy art update lesz. Akkor most az arra feküdtek rá. Úgy látszik, hogy a csomag is arról szólt, azokról szól. Ha horgászunk, akkor felhasználhatjuk-e a halat, amit fogunk az Animal Husbandry-ben? Például csinálni egy halastavat, vagy ilyesmit ott a Freeholdnál.
The idea is that for certain types of fish or certain very rare kind of trophy-esque fish, you would be able, instead of using the material, to go through a process that might put it into things that are more cosmetic focused, like a fish tank or a pond on the freehold or something in the house. We definitely have some ideas around there. I think it's a super cool thing to kind of see something you've taken from the world and now that you domesticate or put into your customizable space. So great question. It's definitely on the top of our minds. It's something that we're going to be exploring post Alpha 2.
De ez csak az Alpha 2 után. Ja igen, ez lesz 9-én. 9-én lesz 12 PM, az este 9-kor jó. Na ezt majd szerintem lehet, hogy nem élőben nézzük, meg meglátjuk, bár aztán tudja franc. Lehet, hogy élőben nézzük majd. És a dev discussion az a szerepjátszásról szól most a fórumon. Akit esetleg érdekel a téma, vagy véleményem van róla, amit meg akar osztani másokkal. Itt pedig ugye a csomag, amit kibeszéltünk kedden.
The packages will be changing coming up in the future, but Stephen was giving you all a long warning. It's going to be a bit.
Na most azt mondja, hogy a csomagok változnak, akkor megmaradnak a csomagok, csak mások lesznek. Majd meglátjuk. Majd megkapjuk a részleteket, hogyha aktuális lesz. Nem sokára. Hát az Alpha 2 az folyamatos, igen. Úgyhogy... Na mindegy, majd meglátjuk. Másképp fogják megközelíteni ezt a bemutatót. Az első fele az részletekre megy rá, hogy hogyan működik a Freehold rendszer. Igen, azt mondta, hogy after. Meg bemutatják a változásokat is, amik közben így jöttek az eredetikhez képest.
The first, like I said, half of it is going to be us kind of going through slides and showing some of the tech trees of the buildings and some of the
techfák lesznek, meg slide-ok, meg ilyesmi.
And then after that,
we're going to have a little bit of gameplay in the world, showcasing the freeholds, ahol megmutatják a freeholdnak a működését, farm, földművelés mutat, meg állatokat.
As an ancillary overview, some of the changes that we had talked about previously to the inventory system. We're going to show some of the storage off. We're going to
mutatják, hogy hogyan lehet tárolni cuccokat, új mountokat, meg bányász területeket. Na hát ez hosszú lesz. Egy órás csak a videó. Több mint egy órás. Remek. Ja, kezdik is? Oké, hát ez jó van, nem húzták az időt, belecsapunk, jó van. Na. Nézzük. Hello. Ó, milyen jó ez a kis ilyen papír.
Than what you are accustomed to. And the reason for this is because we are getting a little bit into the systems and the mechanics of how freeholds work, and it's going to be a two-part presentation. The first of which you're seeing now is going to be in the format of a more PowerPoint-oriented kind of presentation, talking about the mechanics, looking at skill trees, and then the second part is going to be in-game.
És elmondja ugyanazt, amit elmondott, ugye, hogy az elején ilyen slide-ok meg techfák lesznek.
Livestock, housing, and storage. But
gameplay-es bemutató.
I am joined today by three absolutely glorious developers on the Ashes of Creation dev team. Our designers, first of which is a regular appearing guest, Mr. Bucky. How you doing, Bucky?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Bucky, aka Dr. Bucky.
Mutogatni dolgokat.
Here at Intrepid, helping out some of the arts and ship designs, and also some of
the
related nodes and freeholds, and also a little bit of combat design.
Yes, and we also have with us joining, I believe for the first time, one of our glorious designers, Mike.
meg egy Bank nevű első streamelős emberke. Simán lehet, hogy az is lesz benne, kíváncsi leszek.
And this is the first time on live stream. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Yes, we're excited to have you as well. And we have Corey also. Corey, I believe you were on our
ja, meg itt van Corey, és akkor hárman vannak plusz tűn.
Live stream that we did.
Yeah, I was there for the gathering, and yeah, I'm Corey. I'm a technical designer, and I focus mostly on artisanship and economy. Kind of jump around to other things, but those are my main things.
Yes. Now we have an exciting topic today, which is, I think, near and dear to a lot of players' hearts, and that is.
Mármint most így ekkora lenne egy freehold, hát ez rohadt nagy.
Concept art is. We've obviously talked a lot about freeholds in the past as a system since back in 2017 when we first were discussing Ashes of Creation with the community during Kickstarter and what the intent of freeholds are. But what are we looking at? And tell me a little bit about the system.
So yeah, we got a little example set of a freehold here, right? We got on
Ez egy ilyen példa freehold.
Farmable animals, some livestock here in
ugye ott vannak az állatok, amiket lehet dolgozni. Aztán néhány növény, az mondjuk ott elő. Van egy ház, meg különböző egyéb épületek.
Yeah, and for those of you, who have
Texasi ranchig.
tuning into Ashes of Creation's development or don't follow along in game development or other projects, this type of concept art is really important, especially for
az ilyen típusú konceptártok nagyon fontosak.
Are helping develop and create the world around you. It kind of sets the mood for what
hát így megadják a hangulatát annak, amit meg akarnak csinálni.
Art starts creating these assets and starts creating these environments, right? What's the type of visuals we're looking to achieve?
Yeah, it really helps us, right? Like we can only do so much on paper, and we have to start kind of visualizing the ideas, right? So
ugye az egy dolog, hogy megírják papíron a dolgokat, de ugye vizualizálni kell, és ezek a konceptártok segítenek benne.
In this space, right? Like concept lets us know whether or not it's even possible. So looking at stuff like this is super exciting.
Yes. And as I said, we have a few updates to the system that we're going to go over in detail through this PowerPoint. But to start us off, let us
na, akkor alapoktól indulunk. Mik a freeholdok? Ugye három fő szerepük van a freeholdoknak. Egyrészt ugye kifejezhetik vele a játékosok a saját preferált dolgaikat, a házkombinációkkal, az épületekkel, meg a bútorokkal. Aztán a legmagasabb szintű feldolgozás az csak a freeholdokban lehetséges, és a freehold tulajdonosok tudnak építeni ilyen üzleti épületeket, amikben különböző szolgáltatásokat nyújtanak. Nem ilyen nyílt világban, tehát nem egy instában vannak, hanem az nyílt világban vannak a freeholdok, tehát sétálsz, mész a játékban, és akkor hopp, ott egy freehold, hopp, ott egy freehold.
But importantly enough, when it comes to the economy, freeholds also provide the highest level of processing that's available. And processing is one of three primary branches that exist.
A processing, az a feldolgozás, az egyik a három legfontosabb, és hát fontos izéből, craftos ágból. És ugye a legmagasabb szintjét ennek csak itt lehet majd elérni.
Just want to make freeholds delegated to the individual owner. We want it to have capabilities to kind of interact with other players as they're walking past your freehold, as they're going to these hunting grounds and participating in quests or events that might be existing around, and that means that location matters for the freehold because it's
fontos lesz, hogy hol hozod létre a freeholdodat, különösen ezeknek az üzleti épületeknek a szempontjából.
As intricate as freeholds are in an MMO. Talk to me a little bit about your experiences.
There are housing.
Egyelőre a processingről van szó.
But it's not as much ambitious of projects that we're trying to accomplish here. Right. There's always, like putting some furnitures, putting some cosmetic stuff that's on the freehold to look nice, but like we're trying to accomplish three major pillars, which is, looking unique,
making impact in the economy. And I really love the part that we're trying to make a footprint onto the real world.
Az nagyon tetszik neki, hogy ugye nyomot hagysz a világban a freeholdoddal. Na, ott az egy és itt a ház. Aztán itt van egy kocsma, vagy ilyen fogadó, ami nyilván ugye ez ennek a résznek a, hogy hívják, az üzleti épületemet, ugye itt a tavernába be tud menni minden utazó. Itt vannak a növények, oké, ez egy kovács épület, meg alkimista terület, épület. Aha. Ez egy ilyen mintatervrajz, vagy mintagazdaság.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, players will have a lot of freedom in what they
nagy szabadságunk lesz abban, hogy mit rakunk a freeholdunkba, meg hogyan.
It's more kind of like plot based and you're kind of locked into specific places for building stuff, but in ours it's going to be you'll have a lot more freedom in where those buildings go, which buildings you choose, how many buildings you even want, if you want to just sacrifice maybe some building space for additional farming space. So
hogy vannak különböző tehát növénytermesztős helyek, meg vannak épülethelyek. Például. És ugye te váltogatod, hogy mekkorát használsz, miből nagyjából. Baj van azzal a kamrával. Egy ilyen kis kamra. Ki, hogy szerzünk freeholdot? Azt mondja, hogy meg kell csinálni egy questet, ami állokolja azt a képességet, hogy fogadj... Oké, tehát ilyen, hogy mondják ezt, aukció van ugye a freeholdokra, egy nódoknál, és ha megcsináltad ezt a questet, akkor tudsz hogy mondják ezt magyarul bidálni? Mi a bidálés magyarul? Nem tudom. Mit eszembe? Szóval akkor tehetsz ilyen tétet, és hát... Ja. Mix. Na ugye, szóval kell egy quest ahhoz, hogy részt tudjál venni ebben az aukcióban. Aztán lesznek ilyen előre meghatározott területek a minden nód körül, ahol lehetnek freeholdok. Aztán egy ilyen engedélyt használhatunk ahhoz, hogy elfoglaljunk egy rendelkezésre álló területet, az adott nódnak a területé körül, és eznek a lefoglalt parcellának a területére helyezhetjük le a freeholdunkat. De ez egy változás korábbiakhoz képest. Everything that relates to the design of the game is available to be iterated upon. Ugye minden változhat a fejlesztés során. As I said at the start of this, you're going to be seeing a little bit of changes to the systems and we'll eventually show you kicsit módosította az eredetihez képest. But you're going to see a little bit of change and this is one of the first one is that these are predetermined locations. Tehát előre nem akárhova pakolhatod le a freeholdot, hanem vannak ilyen előre meghatározott parcellák, ahol lehet freeholdot csinálni. Szia Wolfaria, or hi Wolfaria. Those predetermined parcels, like a Sherwood Forest type of example, or you know the hills of
Verdant Glen or something,
right? You, exactly. Szóval de ugye korábban az volt, azt hiszem, hogy akárhova lerakhatod a freeholdot, de most lesznek ilyen előre meghatározott parcellák, ahol lehet, és ezekre lehet bidálni.
Then you get to go and place your freehold plot out in that section of that area of the world, right? And nodes will have many parcels by which they are able to sell permits to, and it will be on a auction basis. So talk to us a little bit about that permit and what it looks like.
Mondjuk remélem ez nem lesz olyan, mint a Final Fantasy 14-ben, hogy pillanatokat elfogy a rendelkezésre álló terület, aztán csak pislogsz, hogy neked sose lesz izéd.
use that
saját házat.
to, you know, go into top-down view and lay out actually exactly where your freehold will go on that parcel of land. And you'll have a lot of freedom, so a lot of that will be going through, looking at your whole area of land you now own, claim to, and then deciding where the best spot to put your freehold in there would be.
Awesome. And you know, having this type of layout makes it so that in the world, when we talk about the visual fidelity and the kind of, you know, freehold density that might exist out in these open areas, we don't want it to be where you're running through the world and at every glance you see someone's freehold, right?
Aztán azért döntöttek ez mellett az előre meghatározott helyek mellett, mert nem akarták, hogy össze-vissza legyenek a freeholdok. Így legyen egy kis ilyen egységes megjelenésük a dolgoknak.
I also want to point out the concept art of this piece is vastly different than what we showed earlier, so which kind of gives you the freedom of the placement of what you can do. This is like way more farming interesting.
Igen, tehát ez egy baromi nagy területnek tűnik nekem. Meg itt van elég sok épület is, meg egy csomó növény.
In the middle, and then there's like a storage mill kind of thing in the middle, so that's how much freedom that we want to offer players.
Itt már látszik, ezek mindig különböző volt, hogy menjük. Gyakorlatilag elég nagy szabadságot kapunk arra, hogy hol pakolunk mit. Akkor mindent viszed. Elkap a csősz.
Now, obviously, the freehold would not be a freehold without a house. That's the most.
Nyilván a freehold nem freehold a ház nélkül. Ugye az első épület, amit le kell tenni, az a ház. A ház mérete irányítja azt, hogy mennyi bútort pakolhatsz le a freeholdban. Néhány bútor csak külső, vagy lehet, hogy csak külső, vagy csak belső lesz. És a bútoroknak lesz kozmetik, meg funkcionális előnye. Tehát egy-két bútort használni is lehet valamire. Egy kis ház, közepes ház, nagy ház.
It's just an empty plot of land. All you have will be the little storage shed that gives you the base storage to be able to bring materials to your freehold and then make your construction.
Nice, awesome. So basically, as you acquire that house blueprint, you go and you preview the location of the house blueprint on the piece.
Ez mondjuk eléggé hasonlít az arcade-hez, nem? Ott is többféle méretű ház volt. Vagy van, vagy volt.
To the location of the shed and then deposit within that shed's storage. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah. That's how it works.
Cool.
And then
what happens if I want to... No, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, once you do that, you'll be able to initiate the construction and complete the house and then proceed with your other thing.
Hogyha kész a házak után, mehet a többi mindenség akármi.
Sizes, right? Small, medium and large. These actually have mechanical influences around the design of the freehold system. Talk to us a little bit about what that size controls.
Yeah, well, one of the main things it'll control is your furniture allotment. So a small house, for example, might only be able to place, you know, 100 furniture items, whereas a medium or large house will be able to place many more. And so that's kind of a balancing factor for players in determining if they want to have a larger house or have a smaller house and have more farmland, whereas they're sacrificing furniture then for that.
Ugye nagyobb ház, akkor az nagyobb helyet foglal, kevesebb mondjuk a növény terület, stb.
What are some examples of that, you know, furniture system? I know we've talked in the past about some of these, but talk to me a little bit about the importance of having that furniture and how that furniture kind of gets placed. Can it be placed anywhere? Is it going to be placed on top of each other? Tell us a little bit about the furniture.
Yeah, you know, placing the furniture is like one of the most fun, at least for me.
A bútorok elhelyezés az egyik legjobb dolog, szerintem. Hogy létrehozott, hogy néz ki a házat.
Express yourself and, you know, oh, this looks like a good place to have a dining room. Oh, this looks like a good place to put my bed.
Mondjuk az mindenhol jó általában.
Maybe this is looking really cozy. I'd like to do my cooking in here. I can place down a cooking station, right? So the other point too is that like not all furniture is just cosmetic, right? There could be.
Most mondja azt, hogy nem minden bútor csak látványra. Nem, amit tudom, leülhetsz székre. Ezek olyan dolgok, amik buffokat adnak.
So there is more to the space that the house gives you to place the furniture, because that might allow you to get more function out of
ugye több, nagyobb házhoz több olyan bútor járhat, ami használható valamire. Meg kell gondolni. Viszont akkor kevesebb növénytermesztő területed van, meg egyébként kevesebb területed van nyilván. Tehát ilyen kell döntened, hogy melyiket akarsz inkább, vagy melyikből mennyit akarsz.
Now, housing, of course, wouldn't be housing without the ability to customize that appearance. And you'll see here a few different examples of
van néhány példa különböző fajok stílusában épült házakra. Az épületek a tervrajza az dönti el, hogy az alap megjelenése milyen az épületnek. És az épület kozmetikok azok 3 fő kategóriára vannak osztva: ház, craft épületek és az üzleti épületek.
Essentially.
So a blueprint, like the basic ones, could be sold at a node, at a vendor, something similar to what a node is racial influences. So if it's a Kalar node, you should be able to buy a Kalar house.
Tervezetet árulhatják vendorok árasokban.
We can do so much more itemization portion of it, so we can drop it from a boss, we can make it from a scribe can write a blueprint that is very specific or unique look, and if you went to a Kalar node, maybe they'll sell a recipe to write a medium Kalar house, and if you go to a Renkai one, they'll just sell you a blueprint.
Ha elmész különböző stílusú nódokba, akkor különböző stílusú terveket gyűjtögethetsz.
Acquire unique housing blueprint from a boss, for example, right?
Vagy akár bosszok is dobhatnak ilyen egyedi tervrajzokat a házakhoz.
Blueprints, and then you can trade and sell them to other
players
who might not have had the same opportunity to acquire them that you had. And in addition to that, we have obviously cosmetics that we have sold as part of different packs throughout the past.
Tehát akkor a csomagban lévő házkinek attól függően húzhatók rá az épületekre, hogy milyen típusú épület.
Housing,
ez az
artisanship, and business. And we will have a breakdown that we're going to be releasing of the cosmetics that have come previously and which categories they exist.
Megadják később az eddigi skinekre, hogy melyik kategóriába esnek.
Of a blueprint that exists within one of those categories with an associated cosmetic skin. And you know, that is obviously not just something that can be purchased through the pre-order system, but also can be achieved in game as well. Are cosmetics that can be applied to specific building types.
Játékban nyilván lesz játékban megszerezhető skin is az épületekhez.
You might have a shrine cosmetic and you have, let's say, a blacksmith building that you wouldn't be able to apply the shrine to the blacksmith building. If the shrine exists in the artisanship lane, you can apply it to any artisanship type building, but not to a house or a business. So giving a little bit of additional context.
Tehát egy craftolós épületnek a külsejét vagy skinjét nem húzhatod rá egy ház épületre vagy egy ilyen biznisz épületre, hanem csak a craftolós épületre, de ott elvileg bármelyikre, ha jól értettem. Na, ezek az üzleti épületek, ezek ugye szolgáltatásokat nyújtanak más játékosok számára, és a Freeholdnak a tulajdonosa dönti el, hogy ki mennyire fér hozzá ezekhez a szolgáltatásokhoz.
Or other services like taverns where you could sell a food buff that's unique to your tavern, or something that you can kind of invest and then build.
Nem az alfai távolságából kell kiindulni, ugye azóta csökkentették a nódszámokat, meg stb. Meg kétszer akkor lett a világ kb. Úgyhogy nem, az felejtős.
Express that and then allow players to customize their freehold even more. We wanted to branch out from artisanship just only that.
Kitiltottad a törvényeket? Hát nem tudom, hogy így fai alapon ki lehetett tiltani, de ki tudja.
Not just the business as a whole and how it relates to kind of other players and their ability to kind of traverse the world and see what you've accomplished, but allowing players to customize the offerings that the business is capable of.
Meg ugye azt is meghatározhatjuk, hogy milyen szolgáltatások érhetőek el azokban az épületekben.
Or even what they can acquire from other players to offer through
their business as well. And one additional note here is that, you know, freeholds are meant to be a part of the family system, meaning that to utilize the benefits that services and mechanics that the freehold provides, it is very conducive to be part of a family with multiple members who are capable of interfacing with us. And because of that, systems like the business system allow for certain permissions to be granted to administer the business functions. And that includes things like setting prices and setting types of sellable services that are capable of being sold through the business.
Yeah, it's also a great mention there too, is that the fact that, you know, freeholds, there's not going to be a ton of parcels all over the world. You know, that might not be feasible for every player to get one, but even if you're if you can be a family member and you have a whole family owning a freehold together, it'll allow many more players to
ez nem jó, ezen ki fog akadni sok ember. Azt mondja, hogy nem biztos, hogy mindenki tud szerezni freeholdot magának, de egy családon belül, ha egynek van, akkor mindenki hozzáférhet. Ez rossz volt. Ez nem volt jó. Na nézzünk egy fogadót. Vannak ágyakat lehet használni. Meg különböző Rest XP.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So this is something I'm super excited
Fogadó
about.
stage, az nem tudom.
This is an idea that surfaced through another system.
Hogy lehet értem, tehát hogyha itt tudod fejleszteni, és akkor lesz ott ilyen bárd, aki énekel, ez nem tudom, mit csinál. Hát fejlesztetted a biznisz épületedet is, hogy különböző szolgáltatások érhetőek el. Hegyek mélyre, vagy hegyek mellé szálltad, és hát ez most így passzolom, fogalmam sincs. Nem tudom szóló.
The idea is you place down the building, and as you become more proficient in a thing, in the case of artisanship, or as you work within the business building, you could build up the building to be better at some things than others. So
tehát van egy fogadód, akkor jobbá teheted így, fejleszted. Például. Látványok, hát ahhoz kell zene is, te.
We're really focused on wanting people to come by here and, you know, gain extra experience or rested experience, because it's, you know, maybe our freehold's really close to a nice hunting spot. So we'll upgrade our tavern to have these upgraded feather beds, to give players that bonus, right? And all of the things that, you know, you just went over, Stephen, about being able to set the permissions and decide who you want this to apply to, how expensive it should be, right? You could be, you know, that guy that's got the tavern that's helpful to the guild. You could be the person where people like to stop by and hang out for a bit, get the rested experience and some food buffs before they go out hunting, right? And, you know, this
ha lehet enni, akkor például akkor lehet ilyen kajabónuszokat is kapni esetleg.
And have their own niches of things that they offer to themselves, to the people that they play with, or, you know, to the public. So
absolutely cool. Yeah.
Segíti összehangolni az egymás mellett lévő freeholdokat, hogy nálad lesz a fogadó, nálam a mit tudom én, nem tudom, milyen részeik vannak még üzleti épületek, de így lehet egy ilyen szolgáltató központot csinálni.
One of those functionalities that beds provide is a rested experience buff that can be applied. This is obviously going to be kind of at the top tier of what travelers can expect to utilize at taverns when it comes to these beds. That's important because one other aspect of the freeholds is that freeholds are a privilege, not a right. Meaning that there is a limited number of freeholds that will be available within the game world. And that's a very important
tehát a freeholdok azok nem ilyen alanyi jogon járnak a játékban, hanem egy különlegesség. Ugye ez nem azt jelenti, hogy nem lehet házad, mert lehet házad a városokban is például.
And the inn can service as a temporary living space.
Például egy kocsmában, egy fogadóban, vagy egy...
on the quantity, but has a soft ceiling when it comes to the citizenship dues.
Nagyon előre szaladtatok szerintem.
Accrued at a node. So if you didn't own a freehold out in a location or hunting ground,
akkor is, hogyha nincsen
participating in some type of adventuring or quest, and you see a tavern with a bed available,
és látsz egy fogadót, közben akkor megállhatsz ott, és használhatod az ágyat, hogy kapjál rest XP-t, stb.
This is very cool. I love the aspect of the upgrade paths and being able to specialize in the specific types of buildings that you construct. Now, let's say, for example, in this situation, I've constructed a tavern, and I have spec'd into this tier 2 branch of the feathered beds. If I wanted to have the opposite direction in the technology branch here, how would I be able to service that? Would I have to stand up another tavern and then spec into that branch there?
Hogy lehetne másik irányba fejleszteni a fogadót például?
You could repurpose the current tavern that you have, or you could build yourself another tavern if you're willing to give up the space and, you know, do more.
Építesz több fogadót is például, hogyha rászánod a területet.
So I just want to say there's a key point of real estate.
Csak azt másfelé fejlesztett például.
It's really up to the player to
tehát ugye bizonyos méretű terület van a Freeholdban, de az rajtad múlik, hogy mit raksz oda, és így át tudod dönteni, hogy 2 fogadó épület az megéri neked. Freehold. Meg ugye elég hatékonyan a Freehold. Ugye ezeket mind tesztelik majd az Alpha 2-ben. És várják a visszajelzéseket, de most ez nagyon nekem így megütötte a fülemet, hogy hát mindenkinek lesz Freeholdja. Ez ilyen rohadtul ilyen arcade, meg Final Fantasy 14-es feeling, hogy ha ez így van és tudsz szerezni, akkor okos, meg ügyes, meg így jártál jól, ha meg nem, akkor meg így jártál.
Now, outside of businesses, let's talk a little bit about artisanship and more specifically processing as it exists within the
Na, a craftolós épületek. Minden craft szakma és feldolgozó szakma rendelkezik egy épülettel, amit meg kell építeni és fel kell fejleszteni ahhoz, hogy ott meg tud csinálni ezt ott tudjál ilyen munkát végezni. Az összes, az artisan building az összes ezzel kapcsolatban álló állomásnak adhat előnyöket a Freehold területén, és a Master és Grandmaster feldolgozás csak a Freeholdokban lehetséges. Egyébként meg Journeyman szintre lehet felcraftolni az egyéb craftokat a Freeholdokban. Egyébként Freeholdokat az
let's say there's some sort of weaponsmithing bonus given by a weaponsmithing building. That would mean that your weaponsmithing stations
nem tudom, játszottatok-e az arcade-jel, de ott katasztrófa volt, amikor a föld rush-sel indult, és akkor... Ajjaj. Na mindegy. Kattintás háború.
And I think ultimately the end goal of any system that you implement into a game is to have fun, right? Is that gameplay loop there fun? And I feel personally, and this is just a completely subjective opinion, but
nem tetszik nekem. A megszerzése nehéz. A megszerzése nehéz X-Mix. Tök simán lecsúszol róla, hogyha később kattintasz, nem élsz oda időben, kevesebbet fizetsz. Tehát nem az van, hogy neked szeretnél Freeholdot és akkor lesz. Nem szerencséd van, akkor lesz. Kb. Ezek alapján legalábbis.
Processing stations work that are afforded through the processing buildings that you can construct.
Szóval, aki a feldolgozó szakmákra akar rámenni, annak mindenképpen kell egy Freehold, mert különben nem lesz Master, meg Grandmaster feldolgozó. Itt is licit lesz. Itt is az lesz.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a big time like factory sim player, you know, I love setting up these processing chains of, you know, raw resources to process, to craft. I feel like we're doing a really fun level for players that are going to enjoy, like, you know, going out in the world gathering, taking those raw resources, they're free to be processed, and then taking that to the node to do the highest level crafting, right? That's just a really, like, fun and engaging loop. I think.
Absolutely.
Hát amikor én lotróztam, akkor még csak voltak akkor még csak izék voltak a lakás területek, ahol voltak egy külön zónák voltak a házaknak. Ott láttál minden házat, de külön zónák voltak. Amit nem lehetett látni magából a játékból, csak hogyha átmentél abba a zónába. És most itt erre mondtam, amit ugye te mondtad szóló, hogy azt láttad volna, hogy Metropolisban van az endgame craftolos station. Most mondta, hogy például feldolgozod ugye a Freeholdban, és akkor elviszed a városba, és ott megcraftolsz belőle valamit. Tehát itt megoldozta a kettő. Igen, ott nem voltak lakások magában a játékban, hanem voltak ezek a külön területek. Át kellett menni a kaput, még arra is emlékszem. Le kellett menni a mellékúton. Valamint a izében, a Eredluimban. Ott volt nekem házam. Ott is. Hát én arra nem emlékszem, hogy lett volna.
Speaking of processing, talk to us a little bit about the process of processing.
Hát, hogy az már később jött be akkor. Bár még 4 évig játszottam vele, és addig nem volt, szóval nem mindegy. Na, itt ez a feldolgozó. Tehát minden feldolgozó szakmának van 4 stationje, amit állnakolni lehet, ahogy fejlődsz. A nyersanyagok... Tehát van egy recepted, akkor ahhoz ugye kellenek a nyersanyagok, illetve a feldolgozó állomásokhoz kell bizonyos mennyiségű üzemanyag is. Bármely tárgynak lehet üzemanyag értéke, és a játékosok összekeverhetik és összerakhatják a különböző üzemanyagokat, hogy elérjék a receptben igényelt üzemanyag értéket. Hát ezt most ne tőlem kérdeztem, hogy miért nem lemberjek. Tehát ahhoz, hogy fel tudjál húzni egy ilyen feldolgozó házat, épületet, ahhoz kell ugye a nyersanyag, meg kell hozzá üzemanyag is. Tehát ugye mivel fával működik, gondolom, akkor kell hozzá fa is, amit fel tudnak dolgozni.
It's like players are, I feel like players are definitely used to that with, like, for example, like iron ore, for example, you'd expect that to, require some coal, some wood pellets, right, to complete that recipe. But even, I think that's just gonna be something where we have core to processing, where any recipe you'll do is gonna require some level of fuel. So even like at a sawmill, right, processing your lumber, you will also require fuel to run, and that's kind of gonna be something players will
learn about,
what resources can work as a fuel, and what's the meta there.
És ki lehet így totózni, hogy melyik üzemanyag típus a leghatékonyabb például. A szén, ilyen fadarabok. Például.
And then just within the fuel itself, right? Like, so the way that we're going with the fuel is kind of any item can have a fuel value on it, right? So and then when you're putting together, your job to, make, 100 iron ingots, right? There'll be some sort of value that's required to process that job. So it'll be up to you to choose, the fuel types that you want to. Let's say that it costs 100 fuel to make those 100 ingots. You can make whatever fuel combination you want.
Az a lényeg, hogy össze lehet őket vegyíteni, és akkor ahogy éppen hozzájössz, hogy ahogy éppen szeretnéd. Vagy mit tudom én, csak X mennyiségű szened van, de ezért hozzáraksz némi fadarabot is, hogy megegyen annyi üzemanyag, amennyi kell a recepthez, például.
Love it. And obviously, I didn't mention this before, but what you guys are seeing, and this is an important part to give feedback in. How do you like this format of a presentation when we get into these more systems-heavy kind of designs? But the art here is, as I said, the concept art, Ryan Richmond and his team, and Mike Vecchio.
Arról is várnak visszajelzést, hogy mennyire tetszik ez a bemutató módszer, hogy így belemennek a részletekbe, és Így bemutatják először. Hát azt kell, hogy mondjam, hogy a craftolás még annál is bonyolultabb lesz, mint ahogy gondoltam.
I want to point out one thing, that certain stations will have the benefits and certain buildings will also have a benefit, and that using those benefits.
No, egyes épületeknek lesznek előnyei.
And the tier of the station, like some of these fuel costs could be reduced, right? If
például csökkenhet az üzemanyag szükséglet.
Melting iron, for example, right? Then the fuel costs
mondjuk a vasolvasztáshoz.
Quite a bit. And also, I'm coming back to the real estate thing again, sorry. Where if you just because you have an artisanship building, that doesn't necessarily mean you get to have all the stations, right? If you want
az, hogyha van egy ilyen craftolós épület, az nem jelenti azt, hogy az összes állomás megvan benne. Tehát, ha mindegyikhez akarsz hozzáférést, akkor
artisanship buildings, and then you can kind of tech up to be very focused on one, or have all the artisanship buildings that you can possibly have one for one specific processing and be the best at it, right?
Hát nem, az alfegyben nagyon minimál craftolás volt, szóval ott nem rémlik olyan, hogy lehetett volna helyettesíteni egyik fát a másikkal. Én tudom, hogy rohangáltam egy csomót bizonyos fa után, mert csak olyan volt, és alig találtam. És nem fogad el hozzá a másik fát. Az ott az képán a robot. Mindjárt megnézzük. Melyik szerinted a robot? Ez? Ez egy épület. Hol van itt robot? Melyik neked a robot? Itt a robot. Jó, tényleg. Mi ezt? Szöz. Beraksz egy gólemet a fafeldolgozottba. Látom.
Let's see, process jobs reducing resource. The fuel and gold cost of processing is dropped by 20%, right? So this one's sort of focusing on cost and efficiency.
Sokkal több, mint egy izénél. Mondjuk ez már a T5-ös. Hát a robot az a T5-ben van, szóval ahhoz még végig kell menni mindenen. Értem, tehát hogy ezen mind... Tehát, valamelyiken elindulsz. Ez 3 különböző dolog.
And apply it to your skill tree in your profession and sort of, balance or, hyper focus.
Gólem, ez majd mit csinál? Dobálja a fűrészre a fákat, vagy mit csinál ez majd? Hát itt meg gondolom csak egyiket választhatod, stb. Érdekes. Ugye itt ezek adnak ilyen bónuszokat már. Különböző bónuszok, amiket összeszedett már korábban. A robot az segít a fafeldolgozásban. Kevesebb kevesebb alapanyag, üzemanyag és arany kell ahhoz, hogy 20%-a kevesebb, az elég sok. Nem, 20%-kal csökkenti a nyersanyag, üzemanyag meg arany szükségletet. Az jó. Meg ugye az, hogy milyen craft épület van a Freeholdon, az mutatja a többi játékosnak is, hogy mivel foglalkozol. Például.
You could walk by someone's tavern and be like, oh, they got the bar in the window. Like I can just roll up there and get myself a quick snack and a drink, and head on out to the hunting grounds. Or they went down a certain path for the lumber mill upgrade, and they know that this is probably the processor that you want to reach out to for all of your.
Nem tudom, hogy jó, de az, hogy 20%-ot csökkenti, az nem rossz. Azért többit mit csinálsz, fogalmam sincs, de itt látszik, hogy háromféle úton lehet fejleszteni ezt az épületet például. Na ez milyen, ez valami Renkai épület, nem? Ó, de durva. Igen, és vannak ilyen, ezek most már erjesztők, vagy gyakorló bábuk olyan?
give us your feedback on what you enjoyed or thought could have been done better about this PowerPoint kind of presentation of the system, so that we get a little bit more nitty-gritty details of this.
Olyan egyébként. Mikor azt mondjuk gyakorlóbábuk, mert ott van egy ilyen íjászat bizbasz, mire nyilakat lehet lövöldözni.
And then in addition, there's going to be a little bit of discussion about our inventory management system. I've told you a little bit in the past that we have gone with a kind of Tetris-style inventory when it comes to materials and raw valuables. So we're going to take a look. The first iteration of that, of course, everything here is a work in progress. We are still active in development towards Alpha 2. So take everything you see with a grain of salt, but obviously participate on our forums, on social media channels, here in Twitch, on the things you're liking in what you've seen and what you would like to see
a visszajelzéseket. Mit csinálnak másképp? Stb.
Interacting with some of that furniture as well. You might even get a look at a new little mount. But let's switch over to in-game, and we will see you guys in just a second.
Ez kéne gyorsabban.
Everyone, and we find ourselves now in the world of Vera once again.
Okay.
And Bucky, I think you were talking a little bit
kékek mutatják, hogy helyeket, ahol le lehet pakolni dolgokat.
In the Riverlands here, or we're going to perhaps participate in some of your... What do you got on that Freehold? What are you doing over there?
Freehold a Riverlandsben.
So we got a lot of farming stuff mainly is what we're focusing on, but we also have a artisan building as well.
Oh, nice.
As a forge station, because we got some good mining opportunities out here.
Okay, so. Very cool. And I see you kind of are close to this kind of these ruins with your Freehold, I guess. Is there any happening spots around this area for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got some mob packs around here. Players are coming through here a lot to, obviously get the this nice resource here. We got some alacanite.
Is that why you formed your Freehold these precious resource? Talk to me a little bit about this resource, Corey and or Mike.
Oh yeah, that's so this is halcyanite. It's a kind of a mid-tier journeyman gem.
Drágakő, ilyen középszintű drágakő. Fegyverekben lehet használni, meg ékszerekben. Elég keresett.
I love the just its look. I mean, it adds a really kind of
elég érdekes külseje van.
Magical blues to this area. Wow, this is a beautiful. Now, Bucky, I know why you made your freehold here. This is a beautiful view.
Yep.
Ja, hogy itt épített freeholdot, mert jó kilátás. Mindig tényleg jó. Az anyja.
This is kind of crazy. I think actually
valami jó kilátás van. De az anyja.
Just to bring it up here, and then if you ever need to use it one day, feel free to. You're more than welcome.
Oh yes.
Okay. Ide mondjuk le lehet glide-olni, az mekkora már.
I know.
Kijössz a házadba, aztán itt leglide-olsz. Húj!
Perfect.
Yeah, if you ever want to take him for a spin, just let me know.
Okay.
All right, but yeah, there you go. Actually, I'll put him away. He's kind of afraid of heights himself.
Oh.
Wow.
So I can mine this. So I've maxed out.
Ezt ki lehet bányászni.
My artisanship levels through a little bit of a cheat, but
ja, felhúzta a karakternek a craftolós dolgait.
Okay, guys, you're seeing a little bit of a
ki tudja majd bányászni.
Work in progress UI with the artisanship windows, and obviously you have a number of tools here that are possible. This UI, of course, is getting completely revamped. This is just kind of the wireframing for it. But talk to me a little bit about the tool setup. Why is it important to have these kind of tools? How do tools aid you in your gathering adventures?
Yeah, so
each
gathering profession will have 3 tools. The tools kind of come online as you progress through the profession.
Gyűjtögetőszaknak lesz 3 eszköze.
Resource types for each one of the profession may require different tools. So You basically want to carry around the right tool for the job, and tools along with artisanship gear will have stats on it, so you can itemize towards how you want to gather, how fast you want to gather.
Nem tudod mindegyiket kihúzni maxra.
Oh, looks great.
Valamennyit tudsz benne húzni, de maxra nem, hogyha az egyiket kihúztad maxra. Csak bizonyos szintig tudod elhúzni őket. Csak egyben lehetsz maxos.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of set the precedent with the trees, right? So we're trying to get
jó hangja van, hogy belecsapja ezt a csákányt.
That the trees bring with our other gatherables.
Yeah, it's looking great.
Now where is your freehold?
Ahol a freeholdja, a Buckynak. Azt mondja, itt van a balra, ott van. Izé, dom mögött.
Let's get over there a little bit faster. Maybe we can. Oh
yeah.
What do we got? Oh, I don't think people have seen the.
Új mount.
Lightfoot yet.
Lightfoot leverít, mi az? Nyúl! LOL!
Oh, look at him. How cool is that?
Nyulak, Jézusom.
Oh, he looks so good.
Oké, szia Anti. Szeretnél egy nyulat?
I love the eyes.
Nyuszi mount.
Super cool. Do we know who did this one?
Ezek ugrálni fognak?
I
believe it was a Jinsey, yeah.
Nyusz. Jó, azt rad. Mi kell, hogy nagyokat ugrál?
It is a rabbit after all, you know.
Az anyja.
It's so cool.
Valaki vett ilyen nyulat. Biztos nem. Jó, hogy gyorsan ugrál ez a nyúl.
Yes, thank you. Don't trample my plants, please. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. This is
great.
Horde of rabbits.
So, what have you geared? It looks like, I mean, you don't have a lot of buildings on the freehold for yours, Bucky. Is that because you're kind of trying to utilize the land for farming and I know, of course, you are Dr. Bucky, so the animal husbandry system and like livestock.
Hogy mi?
That's
most nem tudom, mire gondolsz.
Yeah, so I sacrificed some of the space I could have used for buildings to just have more farm space, basically. So
megjöttek a farm hangok.
Here we got some, you know, we got some sheep,
vannak birkák, meg tehenek, malacok, csirkék, különböző növények, van itt minden. Paradicsomot is ültetett, tessék. Felfedezték a bal.
You know, these types of farmable spaces, obviously, as we discussed previously, you know, the customization options for your freehold are really kind of up to you and what you want to delve into on the processing side of things
hogy mit pakolsz le, de hát elég sok ilyen növényt meg állatot pakolsz le, úgy látom.
I mean, the intent, excuse me, to provide this open area space for people to utilize just growing different crop rotations and the livestock, and how does that feed the general processing system?
Yeah, so the farming is going to generally focus on growing crops like this and then dealing with livestock over there like that. But generally what you want to do is gather some seeds from either vendor
ha így le tudja tudja aratni a búzát, hogy lesz, hogy a születtel minden jó van. Nem. Nem, egyben lehetsz maxos. Arra elmegy egy csomó pontot, a maradék pontot azt megrakhatod a többire, de úgyse lesz elég ahhoz, hogy maxold. Érted? Tehát valameddig tudsz kiszedni, mit tudom én, fémeket is, de csak egy szintig, mert a maxot azt másra raktad adott esetben.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just got a bunch of wheat. By the way, I apologize, Bucky, on stealing your wheat.
Ja, lenyúlta a búzáját.
I got plenty. It's harvest season. Yeah, we got
kukoricát lobdos, na szép.
Getting all the harvest done.
Ez totál arcade-es vibe, te jó ég. Azt egyrészt azért hagytam abban, mert már agyamra ment, hogy minden nap beléptem, aztán le kellett aratni mindent, ami nőtt, meg jaj.
If you're interested in raising animals, taming
animals,
you know, farmers will have a use for them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, animal husbandry has multiple lanes of ways to breed and specialize your creatures, and mounts and pets are one of the more popular ones, but then obviously livestock as well. So not only can you breed your animals for traits such as like movement speed and health and different combat stats, but you also be able to
mekkora paradicsomok vannak ott hátul. Különböző statjai vannak az állatoknak is, hogy milyen Mit csinál?
What are you guys doing?
Jézusom.
Oh my god.
Chicken dance. Mennyi tojást rak, meg ilyenek, tehát vannak jobb tyúkok például, meg vannak kevésbé jó tyúkok.
Leave our eggs alone.
Yeah, they won't peck us if we come with their style here.
Very nice. Very nice. I just got some eggs. Okay, now, one of the other things that we wanted to obviously collect player feedback on, I'm going to open up the inventory just to kind of take a look
at
the materials.
Na, ezeket gyűjtögette. Van külön alapanyag, vagy hát ilyen erőforrás. Ha kimaxoltam mindent, vagy nézzük ki a fenébe.
We're taking an approach from other games,
but
the idea of resources is gonna have
szerintem elég büdösen Tix-mix valószínű.
Instead of having a slot-based like traditional MMO, we're gonna look for like a Tetris kind of idea of having
ilyen aranyos kecskék nem mennek ki a karámból, nem?
Stack sizes kind of like that.
Ilyen jól nevelt kecskék, meg a izék se, a tehenek se, a malacok se.
Where you have to do inventory management and have a pick and choose depending on like what you have available, what kind of bags you have.
Jól nevelt állatok.
Now, I seem to have kind of run out of space. Maybe I can grab. Do you have any?
Tele van a
put some stuff in the chest in the house.
Az alapanyagoság.
Are your bags too small or
what's? Nincs alatom is ültette. Azt a minden.
Oh, yeah. I got some extra bags for you actually. You could take some from my chest.
Oh, this is a nicely decorated home here.
Ja, elég jó.
Oh, you have the
az a paxos, hogy hívják? Wow, tök jól néz ki. De jól néz ki. Covidos, emléktárgy. De jól néz ki. Jó, oké, ezt mindenki megkapja, ugye, aki regisztrálta az időszakon belül. Jól néz ki.
Waynick into the implementation. Very cool. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Where's the chest I can grab?
Right here by the fireplace.
Hol a ládája? Itt a ládája.
Let me see here.
Mennyi hely? Elég sok hely van benne.
Alright. So, what do I do here? Just grab this.
You can just take them all and swap it out, I think.
I'll equip them. Okay, cool. I have some.
Szóval adott új típusú táskákat az inventoriához. Aha.
Let me go over here. What can I do with these sheep?
Sok tekei Jézusom,
you can harvest them for wool. Shoot them.
All right. This is not going to hurt them, is it?
No.
No. Okay.
You do a good job.
Oh, pretty sheep.
Lehet szedni. Lehet szedni gyapjút a kecskékről, a juhokra.
Give me some wool and now it's naked. That's so sad.
Ja, is leszedtem mundáját. De jó.
So talk to perfect. That's a good point. So it'll grow back. Talk to me a little bit about kind of the intent behind the livestock here and the crops as well. Like you're planting and you're placing these livestock on farmable space within your freehold. And then over time they mature and become processable.
De lerakod ezeket az állatokat, és akkor megnőnek, és egy idő után le lehet róluk nyerni a gyapjút például, vagy a tojásokat. A növényeket ugye meg kell öntözni.
And then you can replant them at that point. And then for animals, different animals have different.
És akkor leáratod, és akkor újra kell ültetni.
So for example, from here from the cow, you can milk them and get some.
Tehén megadja a tejet.
Oh my god! But they have horns. Are these?
Azt mondja, van szarva.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, let's see. Oh, I got a little stool. Wow, that's some rapid-paced milking. Holy smokes!
Elég gyorsan csinálta, ja?
That was crazy. Hold on, let me make sure I got the milk.
A tej, jó, a tej.
Pull it down here. Pull some corn down as well.
Do some reorganization.
Hújtsa meg a búza, ilyen sok helyet elfoglalódott, úgy látszik. Ez az ásvány is.
Sort of interesting thing that you'll see with livestock and other types of things that you can gather is you'll be able to kind of choose the things that you want to gather from it, right? Bucky had mentioned
néha ki lehet választani, hogy mit akarsz kinyerni egy valamiből.
And so is beef. So it's up to you kind of how and when you want to harvest your livestock in certain ways. And
Például a tehénből kapsz tejet, meg kaphatsz húst is, és akkor... Nyilván, hogyha a húst, akkor szegény kecske, vagy tehén az úgy...
There's different byproducts depending on how you interact with that gatherable. So.
Now this is going to be another point of good player feedback. So one, we kind of talked to you and showed you guys a little bit of the systems for planting crops on your freehold, for raising livestock, collecting resources from them. And then the Tetris inventory type system. But this one is more game philosophy / immersion, right? And what you're going to see now, I think, for those of you who are a bit squeamish, if you want to turn away, understandable. But we're going to get some... And what else from this guy?
Most bőrt, meg húst lehet szerezni például a malacból. Hát az viszont szegény ki kell nyírni.
Bacon.
Alright, well, alright, I apologize, little buddy. I'm super
You had a
sorry.
good long life.
You did have a good long life.
A happy life on the farm, and now...
Oh, God.
Oh, és még visít is.
Hide the meat. But it's...
Szegény malac.
It's just sleeping? Is it tired?
Csak alszik, ja, igen.
Yeah, for sure, it's sleeping.
Yeah, don't worry. Let's go,
Mikor tűnik el?
Sorry,
Ott a jó ég.
Oh, no, not the piglets.
Okay.
No.
We'll take good care.
Szonyog kis malcokat.
Let them live a little bit of a
One
life.
day you'll become big, and then we'll...
Ó, te jó ég.
Resubscription received. Thank you for
That's a great point of player feedback. Talk to us a little bit about how real / immersive
mindig ott
do you want
fekszik.
it to be, or do you
Köszi,
prefer
Anti.
that perhaps the
Ó,
pigs
te jó
don't
ég.
die, but rather they just go to sleep? That's a good question, I think, for a lot of people to give their thoughts on. Okay, so now
Lehet, hogy csak
we have,
elaludsz, alszik csak a
I'm
malac.
seeing over here, there's another building. Obviously, we have the home here. That we went inside a little bit. This other building, talk to me a little bit about that.
Na, szóval benn voltunk már a házban, ez egy másik épület. De vannak neki növényei meg állatai. És akkor ez egy... mi ez?
So this is the artisan building that we talked about, and then these give general benefits to the freehold. It could be profession specific, it could be just general specific, but it also gives you like
hát általános meg lehet specifikus valamelyik.
The metalworking station.
Ez a fémfeldolgozó.
Wow. Pretty intensive, and that's I think something we're going to be showing in a future stream, which is all about the crafting process and the recipe acquisition and the tools, but also a little bit of a gameplay layer that Corey, Mike, you guys have been working on with crafting in the future that we're going to show. But this one's all about processing. And talk to me a little bit about, we talked a little bit about what it takes to go into the fuel, to prep the station, to do the processed goods, and then kind of leaving and letting that, process over time. Do you expect that players are going to want to like fully kit out their freeholds with the profession building so they have access to all the stations? What would be the benefit of that?
Mi lenne az előny annak, hogyha az összes kraftállomást felrakod?
If players are really interested in investing in processing, right?
Mint a processingban.
Freeholds are supposed to kind of give the players the furthest reach up to the highest tiers of processing. So if you want to, allocate most of your space in your freehold for, processing buildings, processing stations, you could create like kind of your own processing plant or factory, and really sort of, have a stranglehold on a market or particular goods. So,
de igen, mert a processinget lehet csinálni a freeholdban.
Players to kind of do whatever they'd like, decorate housing, have businesses, or create a processing empire. So
cool, very cool.
Well, I did
get some supplies. Whoops, I did get some supplies. Bucky, do you want me to like put this in the chest or anything, or?
Yeah, you can just empty out and store it here in my chest for now, so you can go out.
Tomato plants?
Oh yeah, that's right. Just got to harvest these.
Oh.
Most paradicsomot szedok én. Hát ezek is szép nyug.
És
itt el is tűnik a növény. Hopp, így leesett, vagy mi?
You got them at least, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we're good. All right, let me go put this inside. Wait, let me make sure I actually did get the tomatoes.
Ott van a paradicsom föl. Ott volt föl.
Did I? Oh, I did get some tomatoes. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna go put this right here. I'm gonna go put this in for you. Now, you've obviously done a great job with the decorations here and the furniture. And you know, we don't intend furniture to obviously just be visual aspect of the
most talán mutatnak olyan bútot, amit lehet használni valamire.
Yeah, so obviously we've seen here
nyilván a ládán kívül.
Chest is a placeable furniture prop that
De például az is egy ilyen.
storage capacity of your freehold property. But we're going to have a variety of, you know, other functional furnitures, like besides just even the artisanship stations. So for example, we have a bed over here, which you'll be able to sleep in as well, get some rest experience perhaps. Also we'll have chairs, those are just like kind of cosmetic you'll be able to sit in. And yeah, there'll be a variety of functional prop items as well that'll have actual gameplay uses.
Nice. That's awesome. Let's see, I'm just putting all this stuff into the into your storage chest, so you have it.
Very nice. Free labor.
I see you have some pictures in here as well.
Képei vannak.
Yep. That's the picture I commissioned to myself.
Oh, is this it? Is that you?
Yes.
Saját magáról készült.
Me in armor.
It's actual Bucky. That is so great.
I think this is your favorite, Steven.
Yes,
yeah.
The sandals. Oh, that's
classic.
So awesome.
Papucsok.
That is super cool. Now, obviously, players that we talked a little bit about businesses and how players can kind of stand up different taverns and whatnot. And Bucky, you had stated like one of the reasons why you wanted to have your freehold here in this location was because of some of the access to the rare resources. But there's also some interesting hunting grounds nearby.
Mire gondolsz, hogy több személyes?
And, you know, one of the things that is interesting about the freehold system is that it's not just architected for
freehold az egy emberre szól, de adhatsz hozzáférést másoknak.
A profitable location based on where and what you're providing other players.
Alapján döntöd el, hogy hova rakd a freeholdodat.
Like drink and food, tavern.
Egyáltalán, ha lesz freeholdod, tehát ez nem is biztos, hogy van. Egyrészt attól függ, hogy milyen ilyen üzleti épületet akarsz csinálni. Tehát mondjuk egy vadászterület közelében lehet, hogy van értelme fogadót építeni.
To your loot chance or something like that, whatever that may increase some kind of a benefit to the player that is
vagy valami olyasmit, ami,
like I said,
ami neked van, neked ad valami pluszt.
You could just take advantage of the populated player area.
That's awesome. That's super cool. I love it. And you were saying, you know, obviously having access to an open world where you're not necessarily restricted to the locations that you can place these freeholds, but allowing the players to kind of place them themselves. Obviously, we are going to block out certain areas that can't be placed, like certain road networks and POIs.
Lesznek ilyen helyek, ahol nem lehet rakni freeholdot.
To provide these freeholds as layable plots in the open world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So as long as you purchase
sok helyen lesz majd olyan hely, ahol lehet rakni.
The land, you'll be able to place it in many places around the node, like just basically anywhere that's not like a you know, dungeon or a point of interest with monsters. You'll be able to place it in a lot of areas. So players will have a lot of freedom in choosing where they want to build their freehold and lay down their plot. So it'll be a big, like obviously here, like you said, I was looking at the, you know, we got the mines over there, we got the point of interest, but we also have this large flat area for a lot of farming. And so
például azért rakta ide, mert ugye ott sok az ásványbánya van ott a környéken, meg
super cool. Love it. Bucky, you have a very
lapos területek a növényeknek.
You know, I think I'm getting a little bit tired. Can I mind if I just take a little nap, you know?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, just it's great.
Hát vannak, lesznek sivatagi nódok is, lesz sivatagi freehold is.
I was concerned a little bit with the nearby enemy populations, perhaps. Maybe you guys can keep watch over me as I go to sleep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Ja, most lefekszik a karaktere aludni.
Well, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this brief look at Bucky's freehold. A little bit about the processing for livestock as well as crops and take a look at the new mount, some of the resources that are placed around the
Riverlands
area, and also a little look at the housing system with some of the furniture that you have access to kind of use.
Sivatagban? Hát ez egy jó kérdés.
Provide a little bit of benefit that you have access to.
Azt, hogy feldobta magát a szárny.
And with that being said, I think we'll wish you all adieu and a good night, and we will see you next time. Thank you guys for joining us. Later.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, guys.
Leülnek őrködni. Ajajaj.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to be playing the video in the background while we answer some preliminary questions, because we know there was a lot of thoughts and clarifications I want to make. You're muted, Steven.
Én mindig le van mute-olva.
Uh-oh. There we go. I think I heard something.
Can you hear me? Testing?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry. I said, I feel like after that, we all need to get up and do a little bit of a stretch. Just kind of move around a little bit.
I know, it was a long one. That's why I told everybody, bring your snacks, strap in. We got a lot more to show. And of course, we want to do some clarifications. The first one is that we will have the gameplay video part of it in 4K up on YouTube after this live stream. And then the full video will be up. The full dev update should be up tomorrow, pending technology and YouTube cooperate with us, and Twitch. But you wanted to make some clarifications on the...
Na, mindjárt pontosít egy pár dolgot.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
igen, mondjuk esélyes, hogy ott nem fogsz jégesmedvéket tenyészteni a sivatagban.
The way that the predetermined parcels work versus laying down the freehold where you wish, right? So essentially, each zone of influence in the world has designated large swaths
minden zónában lesznek, amint a nód körül lesznek olyan helyek, ahol le lehet pakolni a freeholdokat.
Or thematically, relevant, and you might want to bid on that kind of almost county-sized area where you then get to place your freehold, right? And once you have bid on those that area, the node, then you can acquire the freehold plot, and you go out into that section that you have bid on and acquired, and you
zónába, mire licitáltál, és akkor lerakod az alapját a freeholdodnak.
However, recently that's changed. Well, not recently. A while ago that changed to be 1.5 acres, or roughly 100 by 60. Of course, we're still in development, so things might change.
Nem hektár, hanem amit a izék használnak. Fogalma sincs ez mekkora.
These systems are subject to change. So, right now they're about 1.5 acres. So you go out there and you go to that predetermined slice of land that's very large. It's many acres. And then you choose where you want to place your plot.
Kimész a helyre, és akkor mi kijelölt terület a freeholdoknak, és azon belül kiválasztod, hogy te hol akarod rakni a saját freeholdodat, és akkor elrakod a tervrajzokat, és akkor felépíted az alapanyagokból, meg a
Some people have concerns about the bidding aspect of freeholds. But,
yeah, sure. No, so bidding is essentially once you've completed a quest.
Licitálás az a quest után jön.
To bid, right? It's kind of like a little bit of a lordship quest, right? Where you're entitled to own this land, so to speak. You've proven yourself worthy for the node to grant you this parcel.
A questtel megkapod a jogot arra, hogy legyen saját földed.
Then on a regular cadence, especially at the inception or the beginning of a node, a number of those parcels will be available to bid for. And players who bid and win that bid then get to place their freehold on that section of the world, right? And the idea is to remember that
mindig bizonyos mennyiségű ilyen hely lesz licitálva.
Through the destruction of either
catastrophe
events or sieges.
A hozzáférhető helyek száma az csökkenhet, hogy például mondjuk ostromolják a nódot és veszít.
And if a new node develops,
then kifejlődik egy új nód,
cyclical kind of recycling of these locations become available again.
Akkor megint új helyek lehetnek, meg ilyen újra Forognak a helyek.
Well, and remember, freeholds are just one form of three different, technically now four with the ins, three different types of housing.
So a freehold az csak az egyik típusa a házaknak.
Ultimate level of, process-oriented or artisanship-oriented housing type.
Kraftolás az jó.
Static and node housing, and there's apartments as well.
Vannak apartmanok, meg van a házom, a városon belüli ház is.
Clarification that we'll be putting out an article for freehold building cosmetic concerns. I know there was a lot of concerns in regards to that, to make things a little bit more clear, and we'll also be updating the item descriptions as well in inventory. But, one of the main things that people had noted was if freeholds are going to be limited, what happens if I bought a freehold building cosmetic? And I know you wanted to address that, Stephen.
Igen, mi lesz, hogyha nem jutok freeholdhoz, de vettem hozzá skint?
In the same sense that we've done flying mounts, types of cosmetics and or tier 2 mounts, these require you to acquire them. And there are many ways to acquire a freehold, not just through the quest system, first come, first serve on a per node basis, but you can also sell and purchase a freehold as well.
El is lehet adni, meg is lehet venni freeholdokat.
So if you're going to acquire a freehold and then sell it,
ugye egy akkon egy freehold lehet. Tehát, hogyha te költözni akarsz, akkor el kell adnod a korábbit.
Because these are relative, correct. That's correct. And because these freeholds are an integral component of the artisanship system, fulfilling kind of the best processing that's available within Ashes of Creation, these are constantly going to be coming up for sale. We're establishing kind of a real estate market that players can invest in and then sell within the in-game economy. But also they are a resource that's subject to removal through the sieging system as well. Right, so there's a bit of risk implied.
Meg ugye van bizonyos kockázata is, mert ugye, hogyha lerombolják a nódot, ahol tartik, akkor a freeholdod is meg fog semmisülni.
And anyone who sets their mind to it or sets it to their goal to work up either enough money in game to purchase a freehold from another player, or is at a node where a freehold's available and you've developed your personal holdings to acquire one through the bidding system. Or if you become a member of a family, those are all methods by which you can have access to the freehold and then utilize your cosmetics for the buildings.
Okay, and then this kind of.
And by the way, just as real quick, I just want to state something. We took this different approach with the presentation and the PowerPoint side of things because this is a very in-depth system, and this is very hefty when it comes to design detail. And anytime we get into a discussion about a system this intricate, there's a lot of opportunity for miscommunication, misinformation, misunderstanding, and how these systems work. So that's why, as Margaret said at the beginning of the stream, I am scheduled for a Q&A next week.
And
also another one next month that we'll be announcing soon. Where I'm going to have an opportunity to kind of chat with the community. I'll probably jump on Discord after stream as well for maybe an hour, so we'll see how my schedule looks. It's probably
még lehet, hogy a Discordra is felmegy a stream után, hogy
and I'll try to answer some questions as in Discord as well. So and Roshan and Cody, they'll be assisting with that as well on the community side.
Roshan and Wagner have been answering a lot of stuff. Yeah. You answered one of them already. And then people would like, it kind of goes hand in hand with what you were just talking about. If you could talk a little bit more about freehold permissions. Specifically, one of the questions was, can people harvest from your freehold without permissions? Can they steal from your freehold?
Szedhetnek a játékosok dolgot engedély nélkül a freeholdodból? Nem. Látod, X-Mix, nem fogsz répát lopni, ha nem engedem meg. Csak akkor lophatsz répát, ha megengedem neked, hogy lopjál répát.
I know. A lot has changed. Remember, as we draw closer to testing dates, these systems get iterations that can happen very rapidly as we're either internally playtesting or
nem lesz, hogy hazamész, és akkor ott van legyilkolva az összes malac, meg ruhátlanítva az összes kecske, meg ilyenek, mert más az nem fér hozzá. Csak engedélye.
the player contract, so to speak, with a live development is that understanding must be expressed on kind of the ability for these things to change over time, because ultimately we're trying to build the best possible systems, the best possible game for you guys to enjoy, and it all needs to make sense together. And MMOs are an accumulation of many different types of games in one, and that's what makes them so unique. So, yeah.
All right. And then can players be denied from buying a freehold from other players or buy property anonymously?
No.
Not really. Okay. And then
nem lehet megtiltani, hogy másoktól vegyél
will rare blueprints have benefits beyond just appearance?
Anonim módon nem lehet.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Blueprints are the vehicle for which unique mechanical properties are delivered to the player. So buildings can have certain types of buffs and passive benefits that are conferred based on the quality of the blueprint that's been acquired.
Ja, a tervrajzok, amiket szerzel, azok nagyon fontosak lesznek. Mert minél erősebb, annál jobb.
And then does freehold size determine how much stuff can be put inside? How does a cosmetics can impact how many things or the location of where things can be placed?
Good call. So cosmetics that are very large in size, we will have a system, it's not been developed yet, but we've been planning for this. We'll have a system where multiple buildings can be occupied space-wise by the larger cosmetic. So a cosmetic might replace the visual appearance of one particular building, but then you'll be able to have that footprint occupy multiple buildings to replace the visual appearance of, right? So that way you're still utilizing the similar amount of space. And yes, when you talk about the kind of management system of the freehold, it is entailed in two parts. One is a permitting system that allows for a specific number of different types of buildings that can be allotted on the freehold and constructed. That needs to be acquired through the node in which you've obtained the freehold certificate. And the other side of that is the space constraint as well, because whatever space you're not using on the freehold for a building plot or location can be utilized for other purposes, as you saw in the in-game presentation.
És amilyen területet nem használsz fel épületekre, azt másra lehet, mint például állatokra, vagy nem
as well as other types of
freeholdon belül.
All right. And then the question here was, are there plans to replace Rest XP with another benefit as the servers mature and majority of players are already max level?
Maximum szinten lesz cserélve a Rest XP valami másra.
The beds are primarily servicing a Rest experience function. Of course, there are obviously opportunities where additional tech tree structures could be provided, or additional items might get released with expansions that have different types of benefits conferred to that particular type of furniture. But at the moment, that's not in the plan.
De nem terveznek
más.
Az ágyra.
Skills, sorry, my camera's driven out.
That's okay.
I took the Elgato update.
2 éve alszik. Hát most nyitták ki szegénynek.
Yeah. Are the upgrades
Zombi maradt.
tree buildings
Zombi.
profession specific?
Olyan sokáig ott marad az a hulla, nem?
At a cost?
Eltűnhet onnan.
I believe you can actually change the tree spec at a cost. And the upgrades are specific to the building. The upgrade paths are specific to the building.
A fejlesztési fák azok specifikusak az épületre, tehát
in drop tables? If so, will they be common or rare drops with unique designs?
There will be components of unique furniture recipes that are dropped and are rare.
Különleges bútorrecepteknek a darabjai eshetnek majd.
Power it confers to the specific type of furniture it constructs.
And can married couples co-own a freehold?
No, the freehold
lehet a társtulajdonosnak lenni. Nem, mert csak egy akra vonatkozik a freehold, de viszont a családrendszer ugye az családrendszer az más, hogy működik.
Q&A segment pulled from our forums, but they will be freehold specific.
And I want to
go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to give one other commentary about an additional system that you guys got an early insight and early look at, which is the inventory system. And I want to give some clarifying commentary on the purpose and the design for that inventory system. So, first of all, inventory is split into two separate management systems. The first is your non-material, non-gatherable slots. Those are your standard single slot, not space constrained system, right? That's a standard inventory. You just have a single slot, and you can pull completed items and or consumables and quest items or whatever into that slot, right? And then when you're talking about materials specifically, processed goods, and gatherables, those exist within the Tetris type inventory system.
Azért Tetris típusú. Ott vannak ilyen méreteltérések, hogy egy nagyobb dolog, egy kisebb dolog. Ez nem a végleges.
UX design that we want to facilitate with ease of access into that system. This is just kind of functional currently.
Csak ez ilyen használható verzió.
What we want to achieve with that is, because everything in the world is generally harvestable,
mivel gyakorlatilag mindent ki lehet szedni a világon, hogy fel lehet szedni. Egyedi fejlődési rendszert akarnak, amikor az erőforrások osztató táskákat fejlesztik. Bizonyos típusú erőforrásokra gyújtsz rá.
And unique structures of spacing that makes it a better bag
for wood gathering
because woods are 3x1, or a better bag for mining because mining is always 2x2. Like, the idea is to make your intent as a gatherer when you go out into the wild specific, right? Not just that you're going out into the wild and gathering everything you can because it's there, and that's what we don't have like a labor system that limits it, right? We have a space constraint system. So when you leave your node and you go out into the wild, you need to be conscientious of what you're choosing to interact with and take resources for, because you have a space constraint to that degree. And we think it's an interesting system that ties into, as you guys will see later, the caravans and crates system as well.
Ugye ez vonatkozik majd a karavánokra, meg a ládákra is. Kapcsolódik ehhez.
A Freehold updates live stream thread that will go up. It might be up right now. I don't know how quickly Wagner is working to push that up. But definitely go head on over to our forums, give us feedback. We'll be compiling that and sending it yonder to our development team. They've been loving all of the reports that we've been putting together, and your guys' feedback has been super valuable. It makes sure that we're on the right page as far as we move forward. A lot of the things that you guys want are things we're already planning to do, which is very exciting. And it also kind of makes sure that we're making the right design choices. And if you guys see any flaws or holes in those things, we'd love to see what your thoughts are. And especially as you get into Alpha 2, that's when you're going to get your hands on it and you're going to be able to provide like the juicy feedback. But preliminary, we would love to know what your guys' thoughts are. With that, we've got quite a bit of art updates to showcase. So we'll move on to that. And then I know that folks are curious about some studio updates that have happened this month. So we'll move on to art.
Tojás. Mi ez a, hogy hívják a fejővödör, meg a fejőszék. Ezek ilyen szerszámok a begyűjtések.
And we've shown some of the other creatures in the past, but we did have some chickens that were added and eggs, and I'm sure you've seen some of our other, we've got like a chicken pig creature and some other creatures that may be coming in the world, but we want to definitely have the ranching creatures you would expect in game, of course, and then we'll have some more Varan specific ones coming out. The next creature we have is actually quite awesome. It's the crab fish.
Mi a halál ez?
Which I
Rákhal.
love. You did such a good job with this one.
Ez harap, szerintem.
What you go out there fishing for.
Ez nagyot harap.
Yeah. You might catch one of these bad boys.
Rákhal.
And then for those of you who got the Falgaze Stalker, this is how that's coming along. And we actually have a turntable for it. And don't worry, I'll be showing that costume in a moment here too.
Basszus, és ezt nem vettem meg.
But it's looking sick.
De rohadt néz ki.
We will be making many variants of that, I'm sure.
Wow.
For creatures in the world.
You know, I was they had I can't remember the name of it. Is it Manicore?
Tito.
What is I can't remember the name of the creature that's similar
to
this
in
D&D, but I was watching that D&D movie and I thought they did a great job with that movie, and I think they had one of the similar to this in the little maze area.
Yeah, I actually liked the D&D movie as well.
Yeah, normally the D&D movies are cheesy, but that one was really good.
Yeah. And then this is the Desolation Outlander armor that you just saw in
that
turntable.
Outlander.
Badass. Jinxie did such a good job. Then we have the second sword.
Oh.
And I believe we got a Vec donning this.
Yeah.
For those of you who maybe haven't seen a Vec in a bit. They're pretty cool.
Looks great.
And this one was done by Keith. I think he's one of the longest running employees here at Intrepid, right?
He was our first ever hired, actually.
Yeah. Keith has made a lot of awesome stuff.
A lot of great stuff. He's a phenomenal artist, great modeler, character artist.
And then we've got the Sons of Fortune.
Uh-huh.
And
beautiful.
A couple Soul Seeker variants.
Oh, wow. Ez is milyen jól néz ki. Wow. Ez még jobb.
And a couple masks. So the first one is the Tormentor's Visage.
Oh, I was wearing that, but the white version. I just didn't have the cloak on.
Oh, for the Soul, yeah, for the Soul Seeker.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you saw Steven's character in game.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Midnight Mask. I think this is still work in progress, but you can see some of it. And then the fun one.
És volt valamelyik csomagban?
Drum roll.
Na,
yes,
mi lesz most?
Hear the drum roll. Now we can.
Uh-oh.
Drum roll. We've got our new Nikuin looks. Woo.
Oh, yeah.
Új Nikua.
So, you probably saw some of the faces that we have here. And then we have the bodies.
Ez így nem volt.
Some more shots for you guys to check out.
Vigyeli tengeri törpék, Hawaii törpe.
Really nicely. This is
These
the
are the
Nikuin.
in-game models.
Yep.
Yep.
So you saw the concept art previously. Now these are the models. And of course, you'll have some customization for yourself. This is just like, you know, one that we've generated.
Vigyorog.
Somebody said, "Holy mother of forearms."
Yeah, he's beefy.
That was great.
Ja, hát vannak izmai.
Very nice.
Biztos.
Looks great.
And then we've got
jobban néznek ki mondjuk, mint a hegyi törpék szerintem.
And I do have a turntable for the female as well.
Super cool. Love it.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Love the body art.
The tattoos and stuff.
Yeah.
And we will have like a whole tattoo system in game as well, which is really exciting.
Absolutely.
There's the turntable of the female.
Yeah, I love the Polynesian influences for this race. I think they, you know, it's an often underrepresented cultural influence in a lot of games, and I think that the Nikuin, history and lore tie in nicely to kind of representing, I think, that that aspect in Ashes.
Yeah, I feel like there's not always a lot of Islander or Asian specific vibes, so I'm usually misrepresented or underrepresented in those games. Sometimes there's not even female characters, so with that, let's talk a little bit about studio updates. There's one big one that I know folks have been asking about, and like, is that person going to be on the stream?
No,
homies,
no.
I'm going to let you know, as someone who was on a live stream
lead
at
designer.
AMA my first week starting, that's wild.
Hey, you were a trooper. You're a trooper.
I downloaded everything and every piece of information I possibly could.
Yeah, so studio update. Some of you might have seen an announcement. We have brought on an absolutely glorious individual by the name of Ghost. Funny enough, Bill was the first person I'd ever interviewed.
Jeff Barthayer.
John and I were interviewed for Intrepid Studios. But he joined us as of 2 weeks ago. He has a rich history and a very tremendous amount of experience, having shipped multiple MMOs and he brings his wealth of knowledge to the team. He's worked with many of the people in our studio over the course of his
lead designer, nem,
game developer.
Hogy mondják ezt a...
He is currently in the process of catching up to speed as much as possible, so it wasn't quite appropriate for us to invite him on this stream, but I'm sure
nem grafikus.
you guys will have an opportunity to meet and listen to Bill and chat with him, so very excited about that.
Yeah, and we've done a few of those where you get to meet and learn more about some of the developers, but we usually like to tie that in with a system that they're working on or some kind of content piece. Otherwise, we also get people who are mad because they're like, show us game. We don't want to hear about this person. So it's finding a balance of like, we are people, but we also are trying to make a product for you and show progression in that. And hopefully you've been seeing that as we move forward. And next month's live stream is also going to be a very long one. So prepare yourself for that.
Következő havi stream is hosszú lesz.
You think this one was...
Kíváncsiak abban, mi lesz.
And with that, I think we'll go into our Q&A to wrap things up, because we've been holding you all as long as we can so far, but we do have a few more questions, and some of them are specifically Freehold related, and others are not. So we'll go through
I will just say that many people are asking for a leak. I'm not going to give a leak, but
leak numbers.
I am just going to say that next month, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be next month. There's a slight possibility it might be the month after, but next month, the hint will be send nodes.
Me?
What? No, nodes. Send nodes.
I know.
Okay.
Well,
me?
I'm going to leak something from PI meeting.
Me
someone might have said the wrong word at one point during the PI meeting. Calling you out, Roshan. It was so funny. We were all laughing so hard.
Na jó, szóval következő hónapban nem tudom, mi lesz, de most azt mondja, hogy az emlékezető, hogy send notes, nem nodes, de hát most ez a nódokra akar utalni, vagy valamire, vagy másra, azt nem tudom.
For this one, this is from Songrune.
De valami fontos dolog lesz, az biztos.
Their question is about freehold plot placement. Will it be possible to choose the direction your freehold is facing?
Be lehet majd állítani a freeholdnak az irányát, hogy merre nézzen. Mint a területnek az irányát. Igen. Lehet állítani az irányát, az a két is, meg a tárgyakét is.
And then a heavy degree of customization. And by the way, those systems are in
lehet forgatni dolgokat.
And the props. It's
meg a területet is.
Kind of UI treatments, because right now it's all program art. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with game development, UI and visual effects and audio are often exactly the most taxed teams, because they tend to be at the end of each pipeline. So
praise them, and QA. So all four of those teams are like, please give us the thing as early as possible.
And just to give context for why they're typically at the end of the pipeline of development for many systems and or content, is because you want to have all the iteration done for a particular animation or system or whatever before you get to the phase of the audio, visual effects, or the UI. And then typically when those systems all get completed, now it's all stacked up and ready to get worked on by those teams. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one is from Zeke the Phoenix, and they want to know about mounts and freeholds. Will you be able to keep your mounts that you've unlocked on your freeholds plot to move freely out as they please?
Vagy itt szabadon mászkálva a mountokat, amiket szereztünk a freeholdon.
There are a number of different types of ways that creatures can be acquired. Some of them in a mount format, and can be utilized.
Gondolod, hát szóló, nem tudom. Nem tudom, meglátjuk.
On the freehold, but from a cosmetic perspective, we don't quite have a system in place for that yet. I'm not going to pull that out for the future or post-launch.
Lehet, hogy majd később lesz olyan, hogy így a mount-jaidat szabadon kóborolhatnak, de...
livestock and animal husbandry.
Egyedül nem. Lehet majd azt őket szabadon
mászkáltatni. Moving freeholds. How many times a year do you suspect that that most players will be moving residents based on nodes being eliminated from sieges?
Hányszor fogunk változtatni freehold helyett az alapján, hogy a node tönkre megy meg ilyen? Nem tudja. Honnan tudná? Honnan tudná?
the political dynamic
nem 64 XX-et már egyszer elmagyaráztam, 8 klassz van, és annak 8 alklassza mindegyiknek, de egymással keresztezed őket, nem 64-jel, 64 másikkal, ha egymással, érted? Úgy 64, hogy egymással van a 80 egymással keresztezve.
I'm not sure I have an average. What I will say is that it is very important to remember that Ashes is not a PvP game and it is not a PvE game. It is a PvX game, and that has a very specific meaning. It means that as these systems are developed, as they are designed, and they are integrated with each other, they are done so from a competitive viewpoint. And how that system relates to both PvE and PvP. Freeholds are one of those systems very much so. And it's because of the cyclical nature that we're attempting to achieve with the development of
ilyen ciklikus nód fejlődést akarnak. Tehát, hogy felfejlődik a nód, van, aztán lepusztul. Mindig így újra forgatódnak az erőforrások, tehát ugye így a freeholdok is. Tehát arra fel kell készülni, hogy ha lesz egy freeholdod, az nem lesz ott mindig. Mert hogyha a nódnak annyi, akkor a freeholdon is annyi.
And building the history of the game, like for instance, if you're part of the node that is the longest running node in the history of your server, like that's epic. That's a story.
Például, hogyha a te nódod a legrégótabb óta létező nód a szerveren, akkor az eléggé epic
to fight for your freehold and fight for your citizenship and fight for your area that you're in. For anyone who's played
az utódért.
Game that has persistency like that, there's a little bit of ego that comes with some of that. I feel like when it comes to servers and notoriety.
For sure. And of course, I think Biggie said PvP now stands for player versus pig.
Valaki azt mondja, hogy a PvP az most a disznókkal való harcot jelenti most.
There was no other mama pigs there.
We don't know that for certain.
Dr. Bucky, we need an update. No, I'm just kidding. Zaire wants to know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I loved the emote that they did with the chicken dance.
Oh my gosh, it was so great. I was laughing.
A hilarious story. I was late for a meeting yesterday with Bucky, Corey, and Mike.
Mik azok ott a háta mögött szerintetek? Múltkor egy olyan volt az asztalán, nem? Azok párnák vagy könyvek, vagy mik azok?
Yeah, you can send it to me in DM.
I think... They told me that I can show it. Hold on. Let me see. Maybe they're going to regret that. Oh, no. I think they might. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Got it. And they're probably trying to run to my office right now and stop me from doing it. Okay, I just sent it to you in a DM on Slack.
Okay.
Mire gondolsz, Six Mix?
So this is after we recorded. They were waiting for me to come to a meeting. I had to run out for an errand, and I was late for my meeting like 5 minutes, and so they sent me this.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna.
Ja, miután végezték a felvétel, elküldték neki azt a dísztárgyat, amit a Covid-ra csinált.
Or on their
I think because it's MOV, I can't put it on here. But I can do it a different way. I can play it on a screen and screen capture it. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. So give me a second to.
So the idea is that a lot of these different emotes are part of the game that you can kind of express yourself in. This one was a leftover for those of you who were in APOC and tested for APOC. You had this particular emote.
I have 6 monitors, so I gotta find the right monitor.
Oh,
okay.
No.
I'm gonna transition here. You're gonna get a full screen of whatever this is.
This is what.
Eljátszották a csirketáncot.
There's Bucky, Corey, and Mike.
El vannak.
They were doing.
People are gonna zoom in on the images on people's.
They're animation references.
The mocap for the I don't think those were mocapped animations. But
so good. We need the mocap suit.
Csak kettőről nem mutogattak. Vagy háromról, vagy most tudom most.
To the data about like sieges and like that, we will be capturing a lot of that stuff in the back end. So we could do some really cool like server statistic data. And I know from the marketing perspective, I would love to do like lots of graphics like that with details and stuff for you guys to look at on the website when it comes to server details. The next question here is from Zaire. Maintaining a freehold. Is there going to be an upkeep to freehold and nodes?
Költség annak, hogy fenntarts egy freehold. Tessék, megkérdezik, amit akartál, látod?
Well, as we spoke a little bit about through the artisanship and processing mechanics, fuel is a necessary component of the
az üzemanyag fontos a craftos épületekhez.
However, if we're talking about like material if we're talking about material maintenance necessary for the actual freehold itself, no, there is
anyagköltsége nem lesz, adó az lesz.
Paid on the property that you own, and that tax system is informed by the number of permits for the types of buildings and upgrades that you have on the freehold as well.
Az attól függ, hogy mik vannak a freeholdon.
So those tax certifications are
azért köhög, mert mindig köhög.
Maintain or upkeep the node.
Okay. But in regards to like crops and creatures, will they have to have some upkeep to keep those things alive and
that's the livestock and the crop rotations have a process oriented approach, which means that it includes things like watering and
meg a növényeknek ugye lesz szükség ilyen dolgokra, hogy víz, meg etetés, meg locsolás, meg mit tudom.
You get these things to the mature state. The other thing is that like different types of assets on the farming side or on the livestock side, they have different types of interactions. So right now you're just kind of seeing one interaction. The system hasn't been fully implemented yet, but certain types of creatures can be either butchered or they can be harvested for their wool or their
különböző a dolgok kinyeréséből, ugye a juhokról leszed a gyapjút, valacokat szegényeket meg kell ölni.
There's different types of interacts that are available based on the type of asset from the farming perspective.
People are already zooming in on the whiteboard in the background.
Oh no! Is there stuff on there?
I don't know, but it's funny.
Whoops.
Next up, we've got Strange Abe, who wants to know about super fast freehold gathering. Will there be quicker gather function in your freehold than the one that was seen? Because right now you're like gathering one at a time on the crop.
Lesz gyorsabb.
Yes, there'll be different types of tools and or machinery that can be used to
ilyen aratási lehetőség, mint amit most láttam.
Multiple seed types within a particular infrastructure that gives you bundles and or many different harvesting
különböző magvak, amiket többet adnak egyszerre, ahogy jobban fejlődsz. Lesz majd egyfajta tömegtermelés, hogyha eljutsz egy olyan szint. Akkor meg kell aratok. Az nem arra való, de...
All right, and then we've got Team America wanting to know about guild hall crafting. And I did see a bunch of questions about guild halls in the chat too, but this was about freeholds, not guild halls. Will guild halls be able to build high-end crafting stations or otherwise different mechanics?
Lánházakban lesz magas szintű craftolós állomás, vagy?
Let me pause on the guild hall discussion because there is still some active iteration being done on the designs for that.
Lánházakat éppen így átdolgozzák.
So that'll be something that we'll update in the future on
guild halls. Úgyhogy erre majd később beszélünk.
We could probably do a whole thing just on guild halls. That's why I saw a lot of questions about them in there. I was like, that's a whole other thing, homies.
The big can of worms.
Yeah. Jalan wants to know about freehold PvP. Are you safe while on your freehold, or do you have to be
biztonságban vagy a freeholdon, vagy benn kell lenni egy épületben? Ahhoz, hogy biztonságos legyen.
So if you are within the home's footprint, you cannot be harmed via damage by other players.
Do you have to like lock your doors and windows like some other games that I've
played? Házban van egyedül.
All right.
Csak azon a területen, ahol a ház van.
players from PvPing you? Is it just like a zone type of thing?
It's a hard lock. When the ability checks a valid target, the return is no.
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to clarify because people are going to ask further. And Grinham wants to know about freehold durability. Could you give us an idea of how durable a freehold is in case your node is successfully staged? Like, how does that, how long do I have to basically go clean up my stuff?
Yeah, it's a balance question, and it's something that's going to be a part of when we test that functionality. Where does landing right live? And my expectation is that given the scope of time that's available for the freehold to be destroyed potentially after a node siege, we want to cater that balance towards that period of time, essentially. And knowing that that's a few hours, potentially, you want it obviously to scale based on the number of participants and or attackers you might have, but creating kind of a mini encounter / experience there. So I don't have a direct answer to you. It's going to live within the time frame of that period of time that the freehold can be destructed.
Awesome. And these last two questions that were pulled from our forum folks
sáv, amíg a freeholdot le lehet rombolni, hogyha ostrom van.
So,
beszéltem, hallgatom, hogy mit mond.
Smucky wants to know about monster coins and world bosses. Will world bosses like Tumak take part in the NPC sieges on nodes, and will players be able to use a monster coin to play as one of those world bosses in an event?
Tehát használni a monster coinokat arra, hogy valami world boss-t játsszál, és valami eventen.
Monster coins available. Creatures like Tumak may participate in certain atrophy events or other types of events.
Korábban, hogy különböző eventekben lehet használni a monster coinokat. Van egy ilyen legendary-s monster coin, akkor...
Then yes, you could inhabit him. That's the intent of the system.
I love the idea that Tumak lives on this node area with you and is protecting the roaming area around, and then you're starting to get sieged, and he's like, "All right, I'll come help you." Some diplomacy happens, and he gets on board, and someone gets to play him. That's cool. I don't know. I like that.
Right now, I will say that the monster coin system is used exclusively for assaulting nodes, not for defending them. But
okay.
Monster coinokat csak támadásra lehet használni, jelenleg védekezésre nem.
Don't tell him that. He's dumb.
Hát azért azt úgy nem benném biztos.
Next question here is, I just like the RP element of it, I'm sorry. Jibs IRL wants to know about audio design. From an audio creation standpoint, how do you plan to make audio and Ashes of Creation an immersive experience? And I do want to mention that if you haven't watched our 2022 recap, you should definitely go do that because Kat
Aki a hangokról kérdez, de arról már volt egy...
She was wonderful and she did have a lot of great things to say
volt
about
egy videó és egy stream igazából.
And her thoughts on it. But I'll pass that to you, Stephen.
For sure. I mean, audio is as important as visuals.
Nagyon fontos a hangok is, nagyon fontosak a hangok is.
For me specifically, when you talk about the audio design of creatures and the different types of
kell ugye egy legendary monster coin minimum.
Mining and resource gathering and artisanship. I mean, it permeates every layer of the game, right?
A hangok mindenhol ott vannak, craftoknál is fontos, meg nyilván a világban is, meg a harcnál is.
Both on the engineering side, on the audio design side, and Kat is a phenomenal leader. She is very dedicated to kind of the audio fidelity that we want to achieve with Ashes. I think you guys can see that in the demonstrations and the kind of previews that we provide of the game. That when we're talking about the bar that we're setting in that quality, it is on par with
Assassin's Creed
type games. Our perspective is that we want to, create an environment that's going to elicit emotion from the player when they hear these types of sound effects or when they hear these types of ambiences, soundtracks and music that's accompanied. And we want it to be defined to the area, to the encounter, to the dungeon, something that when you hear it, you remember, oh, that's that place.
Jellemző területekre, vagy instákra, vagy városokra, vagy ilyesmi.
So, having a team that's capable and dedicated in creating an experience for themselves you know, as a player as well.
I mean, that even goes down to brand. Like one of the things when we first started was making that iconic like screech sound when you hear the Phoenix come onto screen. And, you know, some people were like, well, why are you being so picky? Why do you want that sound to be and everything? I was like, because it's like that sound you get when you're like, you know what it is right away. I think that to me, that's so important for not only, you know, the immersion of in-game, but in other external places as well, for people to know your brand and see that it's iconic. And Stephen, you made it.
Oh
all the questions, all of the things covered.
I said at the start, I think this would have taken about 1.5 to 2 hours, and I think we're just going to be under 2 hours. That's not too bad. Just under 2 hours. I think the next one's going to be a long one too, but we hope that you have all enjoyed this. Stephen, do you have any final things that you want to mention before I do some reminders? Absolutely. I just want to say, you know, thank you guys for being great sports and dedicated supporters for the project. You know, I know that development and the journey of development is not a journey for everyone, and it means very much to us that we have this rapport established with our core audience, our golden players, to kind of provide us with the navigational feedback and direction that we're taking on the game side, and making sure that that's validated by what our core audience wants and believes in, right? I mean, that is the best type of relationship that any developer can have with their audience, and we are very privileged and honored to have that relationship with you guys, and we appreciate it. We hope you like what you're seing, and you guys are excited for playing the game, because we're here every day hard at work trying to make this dream a reality.
Everyone's kicking butt and having fun while we're doing it, because, you know, gamers. But if you do have thoughts and feedback for us, head on over to our forums.ashesofcreation.com. We have some threads that are already pre-made, but you can also create your own. We'll be creating some feedback reports for our developers, so please share that information with us. Also, don't forget that Stephen will be joining the Ashen Forge for their 100th episode over on twitch.tv/theoryforge on July 9th. So please tune into that. It should be a really good time. Stephen always answers, sometimes leaks something, so we'll see what comes of that. We also have our monthly cosmetic swap over that's happening for Songs of the Sea on July 12th, if you're interested in that. And we don't have all the information on the swap over. Stephen was giving you all a very big heads up that cosmetic packs and stuff are going to be changing in the future from pure packs. So just keep that in mind. We will have more information as we get closer to that, but still we'll give you enough time and warning in advance. So don't worry too much about that. And of course, thank you very much to all of you for sticking with us for 2 hours and for following our journey. We hope that you enjoy it. You know, making games is not easy as people think it is. And we also want we want to say thank you to Dr. Bucky, Mike, Corey, and of course, Stephen for presenting some really great information on freeholds. We'll have some articles and content up for you guys after this, so stay tuned for all of that. And if you follow us on all of our social channels, we also give lots of information on things on a daily basis. So you will have plenty of Ashes of Creation content to consume throughout the weeks. And of course, we will have the video up on YouTube. We're going to have the 4K
videót, azt érdemes megnézni,
today,
mert ugye az jobban látszik ott minden azon.
Should be up tomorrow, pending technology cooperates. And if you leave a comment on the dev update, you could be spotlighted for our next one. So make sure you're a subscriber and that we can see that you're a subscriber, and you could get your comment spotlighted on our next live stream. So with that, we're going to wrap up today, and we hope that you have a wonderful month, and we will see you next month.
And happy 4th of July for you guys out there in America.
Happy birthday to Stephen, because your birthday is going to happen before the update.
I know, 2 weeks. Bye, guys.
He's getting old. No, just kidding.
Too old.
He's like the same age as me. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
No, hát akkor kaptunk egy-két infót a freeholdokról. De hát élesben lesz majd nyilván érdekesebb. Igen, szerintem is egy csomó infót mondtak a freeholdokról, de majd meg kell néznem újra. És megnézem a 4K-s videót, szóval. Nem baj, X-Mix. Ennyi pihen ki magad. Én is megyek megnézni a ticákokat, mert már hiszti van, úgyhogy köszi szépen, hogy itt voltatok, holnap felrakom majd a YouTube-ra is, és akkor Nem tudom még, hogy a 9. ével mi lesz, lehet, hogy élőben nézzük, majd még eldöntöm, vagy mikor lesz pontosan itt, azt is meg kell nézni. Ha meg nem, akkor meg majd felvételről. No, köszönöm szépen, itt voltatok, és további kellemes estét, sziasztok!